The key characteristics you most cited when describing your inspiring leaders or role models are listening skills, empathy and humility, ability to inspire and engage others, long-term vision that is clearly communicated, and responsibility and capacity to drive change. You have clearly identified the importance of acts of leadership, and that is a first step towards building your own path. Let me explain. We believe that leadership is not a technique that works with a quick recipe or tools. Leadership is an act, not a function. Leaders are not just the CEOs or presidents of countries and companies. They are not necessarily the ones on top of the pyramid, not anymore. Leaders of tomorrow are people like you, who engage in acts that create value and sense for others. Therefore, you can learn to develop the skills that are necessary to grow as responsible decision makers and crafters of change. Let us listen to Apollonia again, sharing with us what she considers an act of leadership in her role of the family business leader, building sense and developing the bakery her father started before her and shaping her own future as a crafter of bread.
Actually, my example is a bread baking example. I don't think I necessarily took on leadership of one of my sourdough loaves, but I very distinctively remember one of the first breads I shaped in the bakehouse. I was just a few weeks into my apprenticeship, and I started learning how to shape our sourdough loaves. Upon shaping the loaf into a circular round, this big hug of bread, I realized that I'm, with my hands, giving life to a piece of dough, 4 mere ingredients, and that to me made me feel that I was giving sense, giving life in a way to this piece of dough, and that fed both a sense of what I was doing, very much on the spot, but also the greater bakery project, feeding people.
There are acts of leadership at all levels of the hierarchy, and there are crafters everywhere. In fact, you are one of them, or becoming one, as you learn and progress in this MOOC. So as an exercise in understanding what can be an act of leadership, just observe the following scenes and answer the question, is this an act of leadership? Yes, most of those scenes exemplify acts of leadership. All except 2, in fact. The CEO alone sitting at his desk and the woman looking in the mirror. The exercise of leadership can take on many different forms, as you saw. Leadership is not owned by those in power. As the course progresses, you will learn how to find your leadership style and adapt according to situation, tasks, and people. Your perspective may be different because of your experience, your background, your culture, or your education, all that has shaped you as who you are. By digging and learning about who you are, you will begin unfolding the skills you can rely on to forge the foundations of your leadership. Therefore, to grow your leadership skills, you first need to grow your self-awareness, and to do this, the savoir-relier approach can definitely help you. But you must be wondering by now what this awkward French compound word savoir-relier really means, what lies behind it. Theodore Zeldin, British historian and philosopher, has looked inside human nature to better understand how relationships shape people. I have been fortunate to work with Theodore over the past 12 years and reflected upon those issues to build the savoir-relier approach. Theodore describes savoir-relier as the capacity to join things, but he argues that people will be able to join things only if they are able to break away from the ideas they are stuck with. So let us first hear those who have experienced the method. You will know everything else you need to know about savoir relier in our next episode.